Hello, my name is Briar. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I'm talking about my writing journey and the things that I am learning about writing and becoming a better writer and hopefully finding success as an author in the future. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite topic of writing, which is developing characters. I think well-developed characters are necessary to creating a world that people want to read. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 3 things that I do when I am creating my characters to help them become more well-developed, more well-rounded, and more real on the page so that they are not just flat archetypes of blah, blah, blah that could be anyone and are definitely not interesting enough for people to follow for a multi-book series, which is what I'm hoping to write. I think developing characters is one of the most fun parts of creating a story because your characters are supposed to be the relatable aspect, especially when writing fantasy, because most people don't have experience with fighting werewolves or vampires or using magic to save the world, but you do have experience meeting someone that either you really click with or someone whose every word makes you want to bash their face into a wall. Characters are the things that make a story for me personally. I love developing characters who are different, people who are real. They seem to come off the page and they have their own voice and their own identities, and it's so much fun for me to create those people because they don't have to be anything like me at all. They just have to be real representations of humanity. For all that I love writing characters and creating them and developing them into real people on a page, character is also one of my biggest struggles in writing because my instinct is to put as many characters into a story as I possibly can. And then I have to go through and cut out several of them because I realize they're not serving different purposes in the story. But that's okay because we're all learning as we're writing. And it's definitely given me a lot of experience in crafting and creating a bunch of different characters. So I want to talk about the 3 aspects of creating a character that I think are the most important. The first being knowing your character's belief system. I don't mean their religion. Religion, yeah, I don't really care. But their belief system about the world and how they interact with it. Some people talk about this as like your character's backstory or your character's wound, whatever it is, or their misbelief, but something about them that has shaped the way they view and interact with the world around them. This is a big ask. You can get really in depth in creating your character system's beliefs about the world around them, but really it comes down to a couple of key pieces. Does your character think the world is a safe or unsafe place to be? Generally in fiction, especially in fantasy, especially in young adult, which is where I've done most of my writing, the character kind of thinks that the world is an unsafe place to be. They're not trusting. They're not reaching outside of themselves for help. They are trying to be super independent because they think that the world is unsafe and they have to do something to change it. And the second part of that is, do they think that people are safe or unsafe? Are they trustworthy and you can get help from other people? Or do they believe that other people are only going to betray you? And those are the extremes. Of course, there's going to be a vast array of in-between beliefs. But knowing how they feel about the world around them is going to shape how they interact with that world. And that's going to be the thing that helps you develop your characters, is knowing how they feel about the world as a whole, how they feel about other people, and how they feel about the people in their lives specifically. So you can absolutely have 100% trust in one person in your life and 100% distrust in somebody else. And knowing that, knowing what's going to sway your character one way or the other based on their past experiences, that's going to go like the most. That's going to do the most for you in building your character into a real person. The second thing I like to look at in my characters is their voice. And voice is something that you really need to be consistent about in order for your readers to know your character based on the words that they say. So I like to give each of my characters a couple of slang terms that might separate them from somebody else, and also understand why they use that word. So for one of my characters, he will very frequently sort of nod and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's just like his filler sound, is he'll just say, yeah. If they're having a conversation and he feels the need to contribute, he'll say, yeah. And that's just because he believes that no one wants his opinion. He believes that his opinion is less important than the person that he's talking to, and so he just sort of agrees. He's gotten into that because of his family. He wasn't asked a lot to voice his own opinion about things. He was expected to just comply with somebody else. So this is a side character. This isn't even my main character. But knowing all of this about him, I can see how he's going to interact with the new characters that come in. I can see how he's going to react with my main character and how their relationship formed because he just listened to her. And that was the basis of their friendship and their relationship together. Having just like those little things, but also knowing why they exist. Maybe your character grew up as a child of a military family and they've lived in all different parts of the United States, so they will simultaneously say something as hella cool because they grew up in Northern California, and then 2 seconds later saying, y'all need to sit down, because they also spend time in the South. So having these characters who, just their little idiosyncrasies, just the little things that they do when they talk, that gives them voice. And by developing these little vocal identifiers in your characters, you're also developing more of their backstory, more of their belief system about the world, because this is how they're expressing that belief, whether they know it or not. And the third important thing that I think you need to know about your characters when you're developing them is, who is someone in your life that you tie them back to? It doesn't have to be a real person. This could be your favorite character. And just pick and choose a couple of things about this other character or this real person who is going to inspire how your new character is interacting with the world and understanding the world around them, because it's going to be easier for you to flesh out your character as someone brand new. So my main character of my werewolf hunting story that I am writing now is based on a girl that I knew in middle school who, I kid you not, carried a legitimate brick around with her at all times. And keep in mind, we were 12. For the first year that I knew her, she just carried a brick around because she wanted to be ready if someone ever tried to attack her. She never told me if she had previously been in that situation, if this was a trauma response or anything like that. All I knew about it was that she carried a brick, and if she was waving her backpack around on the schoolyard, you best get out of the way, because that thing is heavy. And she would hit people with her brick bags. And that was just her. That was who she was. So she inspired this werewolf hunting character who is just, fairly normal person, you'd think, until you start to talk more and realize that she just carries weapons with her everywhere, and she will attack you with those weapons if she gets scared. And every time I'm writing this character, I just have this girl in the back of my head. When I was first developing this character, that was super helpful for me in creating her voice and making her a real character, a real person on the page, because I was basing her off of my interactions with this real actual person that I knew. And I don't suggest writing a real person into your story with all of their voice, but think about a couple of things that made a person or another character come to life for you and made them interesting. And steal that and put it onto your character and see how your character grows and develops from there. Because I think that's super useful, is to remember that our characters don't exist solely in our heads. They are built from pieces of characters we've read and loved, characters we've seen on TV, people we've interacted with. They're this amalgamation of everything, plus your own understanding of the world that you're creating and how your characters need to survive. And all of that together is going to make real, fully fleshed out, fully developed characters. Let me know your favorite tricks to defining characters and building your characters for your stories in the comment section down below, because I would love to learn more about your process. If you have any suggestions for videos or ideas or things you would like me to ramble about and see how my writing is going, leave that also in the comments, because I have lots of ideas and then they're hard to flesh out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. If there is snoring and perhaps slurping sounds in the background of this video, I'm going to try to cut them out, but editing is hard. So please just understand that my dogs and my cat are very clingy. And they're sleeping, but they're still not quiet.